So they're putting them in a situation where they're not safely performing the work. Then when they injure themselves or worse, or injure other properties, they're off work. They don't have workers' comp insurance because they've broken the law and not hired, not
Right.
contracted with a workers' comp carrier. So they're stuck at home, not earning wages, not working, not having enough money to pay for the medical bills that they now gotta take care of themselves. And these low-wage workers are being exploited, and that happens all too often. And that's what we have to stop.
Don't you think that that's going to occur more as a result of open borders?
Well, the problem isn't the people who are in the workforce. The problem is the regulations governing the workforce. So it doesn't matter whether you have people from whatever country
Okay.
coming to America. Those people should be given the rights to be treated fairly without exploitation. The fact
Absolutely.
that they may agree to lower wages and less benefits, the fact that they're not used to something that some Americans may be used to, doesn't make it right. It should be that when they get here, the regulations, the laws that protect everyone should protect everyone on that job site. And if we don't raise the standard, we're going to keep this race to the bottom going, and that should stop.
Let me ask you something because our listening audience may not be aware, because it's a global audience, that we are opening, actually about 500 paces from here, a large Amazon facility.
That's right.
And I'm so happy about it because it's in District 2 and it hasn't required any tax incentives or tax benefit, nor should it have, quite frankly. They get nothing. They get nothing from the public in terms of this, and they're going to upgrade our transit station. They're upgrading, and they're going to hire a lot of people. And those of you who know, this is very important because the unemployment rate is so very, very high in Detroit. And you can get to this facility. It's at Woodward and 8 Mile, a major intersection with buses going in both directions,
Yeah.
night and day. So that's the beauty of this to me. And finally, we have something that people can get to. It's not 20 miles out of the city and so forth. They can get to 8 Mile and Woodward. Everybody knows where that is.
Jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is, just a masterstroke, I think, for the city, and also obviously for District 2,
Yeah.
for our district. Now, recently, as you know, Amazon took a vote on unionization, and it was defeated. So, what's your position with respect to Amazon and Detroit?
Well, I mean, yeah, that was a facility in another state, true enough, but I know Amazon corporate backed the anti-union campaign, which is wrong. I think that any corporation, unfortunately, most corporations rather, unfortunately, take the stance that they think working with a union is going to result in them losing control, which in a sense is somewhat true, right? I mean, if you have a group of people who are saying you can't change these wages, these benefits, without first bargaining with us. Now, at the end of the day, they get to make the last best offer to change if you get to what's called impasse. But the point is, you have people who are on the front lines who know what needs to be done. They know what problems exist. They know why you're not getting quality work because you're not paying enough. They know why safety protocols need to be put in place because this conveyor belt is always catching our clothing and injuring us, or whatever the issue is. So you need the voice of the workers at the table to make sure that the things run smoothly. So those companies which have unions, which don't fight unions, but which embrace unionization and embrace working with workers, are you going to see better results? You're going to see better product. You're going to see more efficiencies. You're going to see safer workplace. You're going to see less turnover. And there's a better. It's a short-term myopic viewpoint for a company to fight a union simply because of the fact that you may have to increase your wages a little bit in the short term. In the long term, you're going to do much better.
Well, I don't think the issue with Amazon has been wages because they have paid above all the standards since their inception, and now they have 1 million workers in the United States of America, and I guess we're going to have a few thousand over here, right up the street from us.
That's right.
So, are you guys going to try to unionize Amazon here?
Well, we would never advertise if we were.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean,
Okay.
but I will say that the groups that are building the facility
are unionized. Yes, they are.
Union.
They're skilled trades.
Yes, and that's important. You have the people that build, and then once it's built, the people that provide the service and the maintenance of the ongoing facility. And both of those union groups should get an opportunity. And obviously, the groups that are building it are union.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. It has been a real boom, obviously, for construction. It's a huge facility right over here, and they've bought most of the land, actually, in this area right now. So I do think that they're going to expand. So if you're looking for a good job and you're in Detroit or want to come to Detroit, come here, and I promise you that Amazon is over there willing and waiting, and I guess a number of their issues that they had with employees throughout the country, they've worked out, because I haven't heard anything about it lately. Having said that, let's take a station break real quick. We are streaming live on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Actually, I have the coolest guest. Watch us via Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So we'll be right back with Attorney Richard Mack. We have a station break every 15 minutes. So I watch the clock to make sure we're on.
Okay.
Oh. The air feels good. It has been so hot.
Yeah, man.
In just June. I can't imagine what August is going to be like.
It's in the early part of September. It's been, our winters haven't been very cold either. We had a couple of cold days this past winter, but
no, it wasn't. Winter's changed entirely. I remember when snow used to be like this. Remember you used to shovel it and everything? I used to walk to school like that. No, it's terrible. We had a couple
of days, but yeah, I remember the guy coming to used to come shovel my. Oh, we're back on.
Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching live streaming WJZZ Cool TV. Chop It Up with attorney Linda Bernard. WJZZ is the coolest station in the world. Watch us via Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Our guest today again is attorney Richard Mack, a preeminent labor lawyer, not only in Michigan, but throughout the country. We're talking about labor management issues, and one thing I agree with you about is that a labor contract, in fact, when we were on opposite sides once on a labor issue, I agree with you that a labor contract gives you some structure for labor management relations, and that it's not always bad for management to have a labor contract. It just depends on the terms and conditions of the contract. But having that structure for dispute resolution and grievances and everything is an important structure.
Definitely.
Of course, it does not exist. It only exists for labor generally. Occasionally, you'll have professional workers in a union. When I headed legal services, my lawyers were in the UAW, Legal Services Union. So, I mean, occasionally you'll have professionals in unions, and you'll also have supervision in union. But at the very top, there is no union. If you don't work, you don't eat. That's it. But and we want people certainly to come to Detroit, move to Detroit, and work over here at Amazon if we can.
Come on in, the water's fine. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, the water's great.
Yeah.
Especially these days, it feels wonderful.
Yes.
You're involved in a number of different initiatives in the community. I know that you do a lot with congressional people and congressional districts. Can you tell us something about that work?
Yeah, so recently I became elected as a charter commissioner with the Detroit Charter Revision Commission. And the charter is the city's constitution. And basically every 16 or actually, it's every 4 gubernatorial cycles, the Detroiters have a chance to decide whether we want to change our constitution. And if we decide to change it, then we elect a 9-member commission, and those commissioners, we go through the charter and we determine whether or not we want to change it. And that process started in November 2018. Detroit has decided, yes, I want to have a charter revision, or at least consider a charter revision. So then the 9 members were elected, and we've been spending since then looking at different revisions in the charter. And now, it's on August 3rd, depending on what Supreme Court ruling says, which we get to, I guess, but there will be a vote as to whether or not the Detroiters will accept the revisions that we've come up with. And so that's essentially the process. It's a commission, we get together, we look through the charter, we propose certain revisions, and then the voters have to approve it or reject it.
But our charter, the Detroit City Charter, was just revised in 2013. It hadn't been revised before that for nearly 30 years.
Well, it was in 97, so yeah, it's almost 20 years. But
yeah, 20 years. So isn't it a little quick to start? It's like the United States Constitution. You don't change your structure, your fundamental format. So often, obviously, we haven't changed the Constitution since the last amendment to the Constitution.
Right.
We tried to get the Equal Rights Amendment through. That didn't work.
Yeah.
So, and in order, of course, to make either D.C. a state or Puerto Rico a state, we need another constitutional amendment, which requires, I think, 3/4 of all the states, or 2/3. It's either 3/4 or 2/3. But in any event, it's not something you change a lot. So why are we doing this again in
that's a great question.
Less than 7 years?
Yeah, so the last charter revision was 1997. The next scheduled date to consider a charter revision was 2018.
Right.
Now, you remember, in 2008, we had a situation where Mayor Kilpatrick was mayor at the time, and he had done some things, and whatever, I'm glad he's out of jail, but that's another issue. But the voters, he did not voluntarily leave office, and there became an issue as to how the charter would treat an elected official who had been found guilty of certain things, or at least was facing certain allegations, but had not yet decided to leave office. And so there was a real push to change the charter back then. So
let me understand. What is it that Mayor Kilpatrick didn't do, in your opinion, that was an issue?
There was, as I remember, and I'm trying to remember all of the particulars.
Because I don't recall that part.
Yeah. He, you may remember there was a hearing which the governor of the state oversaw, Governor Granholm.
She decided to remove him.
Right. And it was a situation where people looked at our charter. Now, again, our charter was not up for amendment at the time. It's 2008, 2009 time frame. Our charter was not up for amendment at the time. But people looked at the charter and said, we need to make change because X, Y, Z. And they decided to intercede with an amendment instead of waiting until the normal next time. Let's deal with this now. And so that's why that charter revision took place. But the next revision was scheduled to be during our process, 2018. And so the revision commission at that time of the 2012 said, well, let's leave that date in place. We're not going to bump it out further. Let's leave the 2018 date in place. People may want to amend it. They may not want to amend it. So we'll let the people decide. They have put some, there was a change in the charter concerning election by districts versus election by at-large, 9 council persons.
That's correct.
And so basically they decided, well, maybe they won't like that, so we're going to leave it to them in 6 years. And so that's what ended up happening.
I see. Because Kwame did step down, ultimately. I mean, I think it was...
After a hearing, yeah.
Yeah, because he was charged, but he was not found guilty at that point. He had not been found guilty.
And I'm trying to remember, there was in particular, there were several provisions in the charter which people wanted revised so that in the event you have something happen like that again, can we have a hearing where we don't have to, go through forcibly removing someone with the governor and all of that. And that was the opinion of the folk who put the charter on the ballot at that time.
Well, like you said, that does raise due process issues. A charge is not a conviction.
That's true.
So
That's true.
if the issue now is if a mayor is charged with an illegal act, is he automatically removed?
No. It is subject to consideration. But it's just subject to consideration because
it's not been the case with city council members either.
Gabe Leland.
Gabe Leland, and even prior to that. Man the school is named after him. You know what I'm talking about. Was a big union person with the Board of Education.
Mm-hmm. I know you're talking about.
That was that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but basically, we're making sure that the charter as it's revised is going to be for the people, Linda. Going to be for the people in ways that the people have not seen yet. And so, we're hopeful that as it is right now, the Supreme Court is considering whether or not it will be part of what Detroiters vote on. And we're going to hear from them momentarily. If it is, there are some real benefits for the people in that document, and we hope the people listen in and tune in and hear. And things like, as one example, you remember, Linda, just a few years ago, last year, we learned through a Detroit News article that Detroiters have been overtaxed.
Correct.
Now, this burns me.
Me too.
Because
the taxes are really high.
Yeah, and it burns me because all of us, the statistic was 92% of Detroiters were overtaxed, and that was to the tune of probably $3,800. This government had taken too much money from people.
Right.
And Linda, tens of thousands of people, if you look at what they've paid and you look at what they were told to pay, had they been charged the right amount, they would have remained in their homes.
Correct.
But because they were charged too much, they were foreclosed.
That's almost $1,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, $4,000 a year. That's a lot of money.
And so, unfortunately, the city solution was, well, we'll let you buy a home half off that we own, that, it's just been vacant or whatever. And, we in the commission, we thought, well, that's not much of a solution, because if I had thousands of dollars laying around to buy a new home, I would have just paid the taxes that you overcharged me and stayed in my current home.
That you've already put money in, work,
exactly.
Time, drapes, curtains,
exactly.
carpet, things into.
Landscaping. So what we changed the charter to say is that you get that money back, not just by writing a check. We don't break the bank with this. But if you can present that you've been overcharged, then you get a credit on your future tax bill.
That makes sense to me.
So now if my dad was overcharged $3,000, $2,800. So he can show up to the Board of Review, the March Board of Review, and say, here, look, I've been overcharged. And they say, okay, Mr. Mack, we're not going to cut you a check, but this year your bill is $4,000. Just give us $3,000. We'll give you credit. And then next year we'll do the same. So it's up to $1,000. And so we assume that program is going to cost $1 million a year, because we assume that 1,000 people are going to take advantage of it. And if you look at how many people take advantage of the March Board of Review, it's not anywhere near 1,000 people. But so we've costed it out. It's a responsible program. It's a win-win. But people get to stay in their homes. They get their money back. And there's an incentive to stay in Detroit. People are still leaving Detroit.
People are leaving in droves. Detroit is being gentrified as we speak, daily, hourly. There's no question about it. The tax burden on Detroiters, when you combine both your property taxes, like my property taxes are like almost $7,000. It's ridiculous. That's $700 a month.
Yeah.
Separate from your note, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
When you combine that with your increased insurance rates because you live in the city of Detroit, for your property and your car, your insurance rates are much, much higher. I mean, you are really out of about, probably close to $10,000 a year, just because you live in Detroit, and many people can't afford that anymore.
Yeah. So that's why we say with this People's Charter, we want the people to take advantage of things like that. Another thing I'm really excited about.
I did not know that was part of the charter. That's that's a very, very important point.
Yeah, we create another quick thing is we create commissions and boards where people.
I want to talk about that when we come right back from the station break. I know that you're big on the commissions, and I want to talk about that. But I did not know about the tax incentive. That is going to be major for Detroiters, a major incentive for Detroiters to vote. Because even people like me who think, well, we shouldn't necessarily mess with it every few years. You know, I just think the Constitution is the Constitution. But that's enough of an incentive to move people over to your side.
Yeah, because we outline what has to be, but then we say city council, figure out the rest of the particulars. But you're going to give people $1,000 a year back for being overcharged.
And it's going to be a very different council. We'll talk about that as well. It's time for a station break. Attorney Mack. Again, my guest is Attorney Richard Mack. You are watching Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. We're live streaming on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Watch us via Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And please feel free to call in and give us your comments or reactions. We only have 2 more segments.
Who's she trying to get?
Yeah, he did a nice job in here. This used to belong to Wayne State.
Okay. I didn't even know this was here.
I didn't either. I'll tell you about it. I don't know what's happening with microphones and stuff here, so I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
But yeah.
What was she trying to get at over here?
Huh?
What was she trying to get? When Whitney came in.
So you're dating?
Yeah.
Oh, she's cool.
Yeah, she's cool.
She's really nice.
Yes.
But then you're really nice.
Oh, thank you. She's cool people. She does diversity and inclusion. Yeah, like you said, promoting, black-owned minority-owned agencies.
You see, you're a really cool brother. So I'm very clear about my loyalties always. Don't get it. I like the couple, but you my friend. Don't get it twisted.
He said they're trying to. They're trying to get you out of there. They had put the shots just on her. Oh.
What?
They're trying to get. They put the shot on you, so I'm supposed to leave. That's what she's saying.
No.
No?
Roger, come over here. It's an hour.
Okay.
We started at 11. It's 11:32. When he knocks on that wall, it's time for us to start again. No,
well, let me do this, because I do want to get over to, can we do this 10:40, 11:45? And then,
okay.
And,
okay.
Because I would do want to get over there.
All right. They're expecting you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
To be cool. I do prenups, all that stuff, as you know.
No, I'm not doing that.
No, just chill. You still have your kids, everything, right?
Yeah. One son, yeah.
Because when I met you, you were married. Is she a lawyer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a lawyer as well.
Is her name Mac?
Mm-hmm. She didn't change.
I don't know. Where does she work?
She has her own practice.
Okay. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. We are live streaming on WJZZ Cool TV, and it's cool in here. Praise the Lord. It is the coolest station in the world. Watch WJZZ Cool TV on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Yes.
All righty. We ended on the issue of the the City of Detroit Charter Commission.
Yes.
Now, that whole effort was stalled. Can you tell us what's happened legally? Where is the Charter Commission recommendations? Now, you guys made a whole bunch of recommendations, right? You met for how long? Almost 2 years?
We've met 2.5 since November 2018. We've been meeting, and
so you slice and dice the existing charter.
We put a number, just the overarch of some of the things. We take we create a number of commissions and task forces, like a task force on reparations and African American justice, a task force on environmental justice, a task force on disability, justice for disability advocacy, immigrant community advocacy, um, recreation. There's so many indigenous peoples. I mean, there's so many different groups that we create. And here's the thing, and this is what I'm really excited about. It's not that we changed the strong mayor form of government. This mayor's still a strong mayor. The city council still has its powers. But what we do is, instead of us as the people, when we want to voice our opinion, what do you do now? You go down to city council, you speak for 2 minutes. Well, this is what I want. Oh, your time is up. What we do is we formalize participation in government. So we create a public broadband commission. How many children had to learn at home during this pandemic?
And nobody learned, I don't think. It's a disgrace. Although I know that's against your rules. That's a big union, but
and when their Wi-Fi, when their smartphone minutes ran out, their Wi-Fi ran out.
Of course.
And so what we create is a public broadband commission where we take citizens who are appointed to these commissions, and we can say, those citizens, they study the issue. They look at grant funding. They talk to experts. They look at scientific studies. They look at all of the data, and they present recommendations to city council. Now, city council, they and the mayor, they end up making the decisions. Obviously, they're the elected leaders. But to have citizens formally involved in immigration, public broadband, all those issues, and having them present recommendations, it's a much more formalized way for citizens to participate in the process of government. And that's what we're really excited about.
And currently, Judge Kenney said that it couldn't go on the ballot, right?
So there was some, and it's a misinterpretation.
He's the chief judge of the Wayne County Circuit Court.
Yes, it's a misinterpretation of the statute. I think I'm confident the Supreme Court will address all of this.
So what happened at the Court of Appeals?
The Court of Appeals, it split 2-1, and
they affirmed Judge Kenney?
Judge Kenney's interpretation. Yes, unfortunately.
Who was on that panel?
You had 2 Snyder appointees who went with the Judge Kenney opinion. Governor Rick Snyder was a Republican governor in the state of Michigan, who was responsible for the Flint water crisis. For those of you watching,
he's been indicted on it. I mean, he's been charged with a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and so he appointed 2 judges to the court who was on that 3-judge panel. The 3rd judge was Karen Ford Hood, who said no, the people should have a right to vote, and so she ruled the right way. And so we're confident that when it goes to the Supreme Court, that's what we anticipate the judges doing. But it's a misinterpretation of the law. And it's unfortunate.
You're not arguing that case.
No, but what's so unfortunate is that you have people who have for decades championed the right to vote of citizens. For decades, they've criticized. Well, just recently, they've criticized what's going on in Texas, and Florida, Oklahoma, all of these Republican-led states that are suppressing voting rights. They go to Lansing to challenge the Republicans in Michigan suppressing voter rights, but then you want to take away the Detroiters' voting rights to vote on something that they said in November 2018 we want to vote about.
What's the mayor's position on your charter revision committee report and the governor's position?
The governor says that we should be able to vote. Her attorney general came out with a letter in April 30th saying that she did have some concerns about some of the phrasing, but frankly, it was, if you look at it, I mean, I'm a lawyer, I've read legislation, litigation, whatever. The things that she was saying is just make sure not to interpret. So, for instance, that the property tax issue, the concern they raised there was, make sure you don't change the assessment. So, if my dad's house was assessed wrong back in 2010, we can't go back and say, now your assessment is this instead of that. We can't change it. We can give you a credit.
Oh, I agree with that. It's just too much.
We can't change it.
Too much government then.
So basically, the letter from the governor was basically saying, make sure you don't implement this in a way that violates state law. So, fine. Okay. Obviously, that's,
Obviously.
That's obvious.
Right.
So those are basically the basic things from the governor. But the mayor has, not agreed with what we've done. He's not really been clear about it. The claim has been that it costs too much, but if you look at the claim of costing too much, we had an independent economist who's a PhD from Michigan State University look at his claims and said it's all bunk. there's nothing to those claims. Basically, their claim. I mean, I'll give you one quick example. The claim is that the claim is that it's gonna. We say in the charter revisions that the city council shall draft an ordinance to lower the fares for bus riders for those who can't afford it, right?
Okay.
And the mayor's fiscal analysis says, oh, that means everyone's going to get free bus tickets. Well, that's not what the language said. The language didn't say everyone gets bus tickets. The language said the future leadership of Detroit City Council should write an ordinance to address it. Now, how they write the ordinance, we didn't tell them what the ordinance should say. We didn't tell them how much you had to reduce the fares by. We didn't tell them.
How was that done? If you have a bridge card or something, that would be the litmus test.
Yes.
Something simple, not a new process.
We say you figure it out. We say we mandate that they make sure that Detroiters can get on that bus if they can't afford it and get to their jobs and get to their places that they need to go. Figure it out. If you're going to use grant funding, which you know is available, use that. If you're going to increase the ridership for those who can't afford it, use that. Whatever you got to do, figure it out. But that does not translate into everyone getting free bus tickets. But the mayor's analysis said, in fact, get this is funny. So the mayor's analysis said everyone gets free bus tickets, $20 million cost. So I said, well, wait a minute. How much did you collect in bus fare last year? $13 million. So that means that in order for us to lose $20 million, not only does everyone have to get on for free, but you have to pay people to ride the bus to get up to the $20 million figure.
That was a good one. You got him there.
Yeah. The other one is that in order for you to rely on the mayor's analysis, you have to believe that dozens of secretaries who work for these volunteer commissions that we just talked about are each going to make $200,000 a year. You have to believe that. That came out of the deputy CFO's mouth, because they wouldn't come to us when they brought these cost analysis up. They went to city council. They wouldn't come to us. It was all we asked. And so the city council said, well, wait, how are you going to say that this commission, this public broadband commission, which is volunteer, you're not paying folks to sit on this commission. Citizens are doing this out of their own goodness, of their own heart.
No stipends, no anything.
How is that going to be $1 million? So they said, well, we think they're going to need 5 secretaries to operate, and each secretary is going to make $200,000 a year.
Well, let's not make it. I think that, because about 55% of your salary is benefits. So if you're a city employee,
then that's $100. What secretary makes $120,000 a year?
Nobody.
If you add fringes, if you're talking about the fringe roll up. Yeah. The point is, you don't need 5. The commission will meet once a month, once every 2 months. What is the secretary going to do? Maybe send out a meeting notice. You need 5 people to do that, and each of them make $200,000.
Well, depends on how many commissions you have.
Well, no, for each commission, they're saying you get 5 secretaries for each one. So if you look at the immigration, the disability, the public broadband, for each one of those, and then we have wage boards where workers get the right to come and voice their opinion about what's going on in their workplace, especially low-wage workers. And they say 11 of those are going to be created. So for each one of those, they get 5 secretaries.
So what was your cost benefit analysis then on this particular issue?
$7 million a year.
It would cost
$7.1 million.
$7.1 million to start.
And those are things. Those are things, and again, even within that, there's some discretion, and it doesn't also include the revenue that we'll generate. So, for instance, if you look at the property tax we just talked about, we know people are leaving in droves, especially black people from Detroit. They're leaving in droves. If you knew, Linda, that when we got overtaxed, that I was going to get money back next year, I'm not leaving this year.
No.
So we're increasing the property values. We're increasing the ownership. We're increasing the property tax collection.
Stabilizing the
We're stabilizing it. So you can't cost that out, but that's going to reduce the $7 million cost because you got to give us credit for that revenue.
Yeah. But on the other hand, if someone new moves in, then they reassess the taxes for that property, as you know, and the house across the street from you that's worth $500,000 now, when you bought yours for $100,000, let's say, is now, they'll get taxed at that level. But like you said, they're moving in. They've got to, it's their choice at that point. That's just a matter of choice.
So we really want people to just, remain in tuned. We know that within the coming days, we believe the Supreme Court's going to come out with its opinion, and we believe it's going to be on the ballot. We want people to go to the Detroit Charter 2018.com. That's a website. You can look at the revisions.
Detroit Charter 2018.
Yep. You can look at the revisions. You can see some of the Black Lives Matter. My goodness, Linda, we saw George Floyd die while we were writing this thing.
Right.
And we watched that video, and that impacted us.
There's
So
no
we
question.
put in the charter no knock warrants. Now that's low hanging fruit, right? I mean,
Well, it is but I can speak on that. The police
yes,
department now has a no knock warrant policy that's extremely limited. It has to the no knock has to be approved by the chief, him or herself. That's number one. Number two, it has to be involved like a kidnapping, like your child is in there, or there's someone has been imminent, in danger of imminent bodily harm, not like drugs and stuff like that, because there's no harm there, or there's a terrorist. That kind, it's a very, very limited definition for no knock warrants right now. But you're right, in the George Floyd bill, I think there's certain exceptions in that bill as well for no knock warrants, very similar to the ones that Detroit has. But Detroit, we did as commissioners.
You may be interested in this too.
But I'm concerned about the overall search warrant stuff with what they do.
Yeah.
And how that's handled, not just the no knock. I mean,
Yeah.
you have 30 seconds to get to your door. I can't even, get out of the bed in 30 seconds and get downstairs. I mean, not even thinking about it. After you've knocked 10 times, I mean, then I hear it.
We also say in there that body camera images, dash camera images, have to be turned over to the commission.
Oh, I not only want them turned over. I want them available within 24 hours. It's one of my platforms as a commissioner is to, number one, you'll like this because you're a lawyer. If in fact there were body cams and dash cams available, and the officers have turned them off or whatever, and you're arrested. Let's say you're arrested. You're like, where's the body cam? Well, they didn't have it on. Where's the dash cam? They said I was doing. Then your case is automatically dismissed. I really don't think that the police officer has credibility at that point, because he or she made a choice at that point to not have it on, so that you couldn't see the facts. The eye in the sky tells it all. Not what I say, not what you say, but what the eye in the sky says. So I really want those cases automatically dismissed.
Well,
I
agree.
And the officers are supposed to be, under our current policies, officers will be disciplined if they have turned off their body cam. But that could just be not even a written reprimand, quite frankly. It could be a very light slap on the wrist. But the real get it back is when they turn it off. When we know they're, when they're going and there's money or drugs or whatever. If that body cam's not on and we don't see every single part of that, kick the case.
But I thought there are a number of things we do as far as policing. It's a really comprehensive document. I'm excited about it. I know that Detroit.
Well, you changed the most important thing about the police department. That you change is the fact that the mayor no longer has any appointees.
Right. So we go down from 11 to 7, and I know that's one of the reasons that he's against it. He doesn't like the fact that he has to share, or he no longer has appointments on the police commission.
So, that's major, because the commission was started by Mayor Young in 1974. As a matter of fact, my sister Sharon Bernard, who's also a lawyer, was the second female commissioner on the commission, and they were all appointed by Mayor Young. And then, of course, the charter and everything changed things, where we now have one elected by district, just like we do city council members. So to take the mayor's power totally away with respect to the police commission is a major, major deal. That since we were one of the first in the country.
Yeah, the thought process behind it was that, and you'll be aware of this, is that the commissioners, and many of the people in the public, got the impression that the mayor's appointees, the mayor's appointees sort of took away from the true essence, maybe not the way it began, of the civilian oversight. Right, so if it's civilian oversight, if it's really a civilian oversight body, let the civilians select who's overseeing. I think that's really the main premise behind that change. But I get the point. I do get the point.
But see, one of the key things about it is, because you deal with multi-million-dollar unions, is the police department is like a $600 million operation. We have 2,700 police officers. It's not a game. It's not something that unless you understand business and how money works and how labor works, because we have the DPOA and the Lieutenant Sergeants Union. This is a big business, the biggest business in the city of Detroit. The biggest line item for the city is the police department. That's true. So you really need people that have some level of ability to understand what's going on, and obviously have enough knowledge to ask the right questions. I'm proud of our police department, though, Richard. We are, and our new chief White now is really into restraint.
Yeah.
He is like the thing
He
that you
came
may have
out
seen on
swinging.
TV when the guys were circling the police car doing the figure eights and all that stuff. They went around taunting the police. 11 times they went around, boom, zoom, 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 circling a police car like this is the Wild Wild West or something. So we didn't do anything. We stood down, and they had a helicopter overhead. We had 11 dash cam videos and 11 body cam videos. The next morning at 7 o'clock, we're at their house. We take the cars, take them to jail. They'll probably never get a driver's license again. All you gotta do is show the video. Um, it was really, I mean, we're not doing any chasing anymore because it puts you at risk or your son at risk or any of us.
We got the video images.
We're just going, old people going through the light, and then so, shoom, here come the police and somebody. We're not doing that anymore. So we're using technology now to capture criminals without hurting people. And without endangering the community.
Good.
And we have not, there have been no shootings, and even what happened down in Greektown a week ago, that was a problem when that guy jumped on the police officer and all that stuff. There's something wrong with these people. Yeah, there's something wrong. I mean, we back this up. You don't attack a police officer. Besides that, it's a felony. So all of them have been picked up. All of them have been arrested. So you may think this is your glory day against the police,
but we got you.
Big Brother's coming.
Yeah, as it should.
And there's going to be no mercy for people who do this. We need public safety, and that's my initiative. I mean, that we have public safety, but we have peace officers, not just police officers who, as you know, wear 30 pounds of gear, tasers, 6, 4, 5 magazines of ammunition. I'm like, doggone, it's just a city, It's not Afghanistan. Why do you need 6?
Oh man.
10 bullets each. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Really something. But your work with the commission has been very dynamic, and you're very passionate about it.
I am. I put a lot of prayer to it. I'm a man of faith, and I know that God, we were, had an interesting beginning to learning each other's personalities in the beginning, and things were turned around. We began working together well, and I think things are going really good. And I'm confident that we'll be on that ballot, and it's going to succeed.
Well, hopefully when was the Supreme Court scheduled to rule on your case?
We don't know. I'm hoping
they're
it
in recess
should be,
or something. When they go on
it
vacation.
should be any day now.
Oh, really? It's already up there. So this before their summer.
I think it'll be this coming week for sure. Probably within the next few days. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
who's handling the case?
We have Varnum and Rittering. It's a law firm.
I know them.
Yeah.
Out of Grand Rapids, right?
Yeah, I've gone against them a number of times, so I know all about them too.
Yeah. We got to see what they come up with. They're representing the Charter
Commission. Yeah. Yep. And then there's a couple of plaintiffs that have their Dykema and Honigman firms. So yeah, it's the big firms swinging against each other.
It always is. When I went the first time for SAAA, the big firms were on the other side. I understand.
Yeah, the bigger they are, harder they fall.
That's what I say all the time. David slew Goliath. I never forget that my mama taught me that.
That's it.
But having said that and everything, is there anything else about this Charter Commission and about what's happening with respect to this election that you'd like to talk about or tell our listening audience?
No, I just want to leave everyone with the fact that, stay encouraged. Look at what we got on the charter. Look at it for yourself. Don't believe the noise about it being overly costly. That's not true. Don't believe it is taking away power from the mayor, city council. That's not true. Those are the narratives. It adds people to government and being able to recommend changes to government. They still have the final say, but we can recommend. And I'm excited about that because our recommendations ought to mean something. The people that vote for you ought to have a voice in what you're doing.
I have to ask you one question that I'm sure is on everyone's mind, actually in the country right now. What's your position on the unemployment issues in terms of the payments, in terms of what they say is $50 billion in fraud? I mean, how would you have addressed this, or what do you think about this? You're a labor person.
I mean, unless you can prove fraud, you can't put people. What is it? In Michigan, you pay 4 times the amount if you're shown to have taken money unfairly or unjustly from unemployment.
Oh, I'm sorry. It costs you 4 times as much to get it back.
You owe 4 times what you got.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh,
so
I didn't know
if you
that.
got
Okay.
10,000, if you got $2,000, you got 8,000. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, but I think that there should be penalties for people that abuse the system, but make sure that they've actually abused the system.
I
You
agree.
know, I mean, there should be, we should get investigators and everything else to make sure that there's some accountability, but make sure that you got it right.
And unemployment has kept the community afloat. You can see that
Definitely.
clearly. I mean, you really can see that, and it's kept down homelessness and things like that. In our community, also the weather helps here because we don't.
Definitely.
I did not know, and this is interesting. You'll find it interesting that in California, a person can actually set up a tent on the sidewalk in front of your house. I mean, the sidewalk is public, and so that's why you've got all these homeless things and homeless people and all these camps and all this kind of stuff next to schools. You know, people using the bathroom outdoors and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just it's a real problem. We've
Yeah.
got a lot of major issues that we've got to deal with.
Yeah.
But in general, so you're gonna launch a real big campaign, I assume,
Well, yeah.
concerning the charter if it's approved to be on the ballot.
Yep, that'll be coming up this week. So look out for the press releases and announcements and everything.
And if
else.
it's not on the ballot, what
If
happens?
it's not on the ballot, we are gonna go back and hunker up and come out with something.
I see.
That's all I'll say.
Well, your council come up with something. Come up right in. I want the charter.
We'll see
Right.
what
Something
we're
we'll
gonna
do. We'll do
Yeah.
something.
Thank you, Lynn. I
Well,
truly
I want to
appreciate the
thank you, and
opportunity.
I know it's been a busy day for you today. I know you've got labor meetings and political meetings and everything
Yeah.
that you've got to deal with. I really appreciate your time and consideration. And ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman is numero uno when it
Thank you.
comes to labor law matters. You've heard him speak. He's for the people. He's for public participation, and it's his mission. It's been his mantra. It is his life's work.
Well, God
So
bless you.
it's the truth.
It is.
So I really appreciate you tuning in today to watch us on Cut It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. We sort of floated through our last station break because I know he's got to go, and I wanted to get him out of here on time and not go to the very last minute. I'd like to thank you
Thank
again.
God
It's
bless you.
always a pleasure to see you. God bless you. Are you going to church tomorrow?
I see.